We all know that access to funding is one of an SME's biggest challenges. We find that entrepreneurs know that they need funding, but where do we find this funding? And what kind of funding do we need? So I'm going to kick us off with Brian. Brian, I love that Mr. William touched on your business a little bit, Arion Power. You found yourself in a unique situation. You are trying to solve a national crisis, but you're in need of funding. Can you tell us, how did you identify your institution of choice, the government institution, and a little bit about that journey and the kind of fund that you receive from them?
Okay, perfect. So before I get into that, I just want to give you a brief description of myself and my business. I'm Brian Kadisi. I'm head of finance and business strategy at Arion Power. Our stand is over there. Our business specializes in battery backup solutions, lithium iron phosphate battery technologies for the ICTS space and also other industries as well. We manufacture small UPS devices, and also we do R&D, larger backup solutions for different applications. So when it came to us and looking for funding, we wanted to find a funder who, one, had the best cost of capital that would work to our best advantage, a funder that had a program that actually understood what we're trying to achieve as a business. So in our case, we approached CIFA, the Small Enterprise Financing Agency. It's a government agency sub of the Small Business Development Department. We then went and applied for a fund that specializes in the manufacturing, as we wanted to scale our productive capacity. Mr. Mzimba also spoke about scaling. We were at a point in our business where the orders were coming in, but we didn't have the capacity to meet them. And when you do look for funding, it's quite important to know that you want to find funding that is going to get you to the next step without costing you more than what it actually is costing you in interest or equity. So when we look for funding, we looked for the best cost of capital, a program that understood our long-term goals, the ability to go back for additional subsequent rounds of funding, as well as just a general outlook of where we position ourselves as a business. We got a blended financing program, so it was part loan, part grant, but we'll get into that a little bit later in the discussion.
Awesome. We'll get into that a bit later in the discussion. Guys, if you do have any questions, please do make a note of them. I will give you some time towards the end of our discussion just to ask your questions. Please take advantage of these guys. They have a wealth of knowledge to share. Brian, thank you for that. Palisa, you from a different sector. You are in the hospitality sector, but also did manage to get funding from a corporate lender. Can you tell us a bit about your journey, especially for your kind of business and what that looked like?
Good morning. I'm Palisa Mazibugo, founder and owner of Parsley on Time, which is a hospitality business. We do catering and food solutions as well. Basically, I was trying to scale. And I knew that I needed cash flow and scaling into the restaurant sector, which obviously is, I've always thought of the restaurant business as like one business that you need to basically have some money laundering or something going on, because the cash flow that you need for running a restaurant is crazy. But I thought I could, soldier it with my own savings and put my own back into it so that someone else can come in and back me up, seeing that I'm also putting in a lot of monetary sacrifices into it. I literally found Vodalend, which is Vodacom's small SME funding platform. I found it in my mail that I was trying to get rid of. I think it's called promotions or something. It's like junk mail. And it came at a point where I was just cracking my skull trying to find funding and whatnot. So I think the algorithm gods aligned. And I literally found it there, and I was like, what? Get paid, like get the money in 48 hours? I'm thinking, what's the catch? What's the catch here? And literally, like, everything was online. They asked very minimal questions, which I think what exhausts us a lot is lenders or investors asking you for the business plan and 10,000 meetings that you must drive to, putting your car in neutral half the time if there's entrepreneurs that can relate. And you don't understand how many coffees you must buy, just to get this money. And so at least everything I could do was in a coffee shop with someone else's Wi-Fi. um, minimal cost, incurred by me. But everything on the platform was literally like a 30-minute process for me. I wasn't crossing fingers. One thing I've learned is to not expect anymore. Everything that comes is now like, yes, yeah. And Vodacom, they call you, they ask you what your business is, what do you want to do with this money? And I literally, my first answer is cash flow. I'm trying to start a coffee shop and I just need cash flow to get some, just to make sure that at least first 3 months or so I can pay staff without having to worry. I can just run my business and run the business and not sort of stress about it every day. So yeah, the rest we'll get into later.
Okay, awesome. I'm really enjoying how both you and Brian were quite clear. So, what did you need these funds for? You don't just need a large amount of money or small amounts of money, but you're quite clear what do you want to do with this money. Balisa, what kind of funding did you manage to obtain from Vodalend? And also, I do want you to share with us a little bit about the challenges that you then experienced with that journey. Granted, it was very straightforward. 30 minutes, within 48 hours, you are sorted and smiling all the way to the bank. But what kind of challenges did you experience and what type of funding did you receive?
So the first time I received basically like, safe funding, not, I shot to the stars because you guys say like up to 5 million. So, I mean, I went for it. Um, I wasn't playing. So, um, I then, I got, I guess, the funding that, whatever. It was fine. I made it work. Um, but I was just so happy, man, that I can finally get funding without so much red tape. You know, the first time around was easy. It was very easy. Second time around that I applied for funding, because remember they didn't give me what I asked for, so I went back after having paid it. I paid the first allocated funds, yes. And the second time around, I guess, like the platform blew up, I assume. It didn't take 48 hours, to be honest. It took like 2 weeks. Yeah, it took 2 weeks. And one day, this lady called me and she said, "Can I tell you the truth? Like, it's just blowing up." And at that point, guys, Vodaland had to scale, by the way, um, because they were inundated. And she was just like, "I'm so sorry. I can see you're a return customer." And at that time, it was quite frustrating because I needed that 48-hour,
Turnaround
time for,
time.
yeah, turnaround time. So in general, I mean, I look at these funds and I have my own list of complaints and, but to be really honest, that was the only real like challenge I found. And also just maybe the challenge of reality. Sometimes we really do shoot for the stars, but it doesn't match your current income. And we can't really expect lenders to believe in the dream that we see in our heads, and the amount of money we need that we see in our heads. You guys look at the actual, literal, realistic, funds that are coming in and out the business at the time. But you do sort of, um, they sort of do help you out. So I mean, the second time I said, look, I'm gonna need to. These are bigger funds. I need a longer period to pay them off. And we had a little back and forth, but really we both reached an agreement that made sense for both the lender and myself as well. So challenges were very minimal. Um, Probably the one funny challenge I might have had was just that I was featured in a Vodaland ad on social media, and I got tired of being recognized by people. But yeah, that's it.
The default ambassador you became. Okay, awesome. I think also it's quite key to not now search for funds and apply for funds when you're quite under pressure because you can't dictate what those turnaround times will look like. But what I'm gathering from the both of you guys, it was on a loan basis, and Brian was part grant, part loan. Chislin, you work with quite a large number of funders, so you are the go-to guy for us here that need money. Can you tell us a little about the different types of funding there is available out there for SMEs?
Sure. Good morning, everybody. My name is Cheslin Dinman. I'm the CEO of a digital platform called Ennoble. So the problem that we saw, the statistics of people applying for funding, it was like 10 to 2. You know, everybody would apply, 2 would possibly get it. So the problem that we saw was the regulatory compliance process with actually getting access to funds. And we wanted to solve this sort of problem where we help businesses get the right ingredients in order to get access to the funding. So in the funding realm, we have obviously purchase order funding. That's for many small businesses. So if you have an order in your hand that you manage to, smuggle, or you manage to hustle it and build relationships, we obviously help those businesses through various partners, Vodalend being one, you got Lunalend, you got Bridgement Finance. So there's various elements of funding where you can go to when you have a PO in hand. And obviously, a lot of the guys that's in the manufacturing space, they need asset finance, So we connected solely with DFIs, DFIs being CIFA that help Brian out. You have NEF, IDC, those are for the bigger tier funds that you need that 5 million and plus. And then obviously we got private guys like Capital Box, we got profit share partners as well that gives asset finance out. So what we try and do is we try and as business owners that's sitting in the room, they are so focused on their business. When it comes to funding is the actual je ne sais quoi. It's a skill. You got to know how to position your business. You got to know how to prepare your business. It's fundamentals. You can't build a house on sand, right? So it's all based on the preparation. And that's what we found to be an important part of the funding journey in order to access any funding in South Africa. Many businesses in the room are saying, we are the grants. We want free money. Guys, William spoke, economy is bad. There's no free money. It's blended now. It's, partial grant, partial loan. And in order to get a loan, you got to show data. Do I have enough POs? Do I have enough juice in my business to afford to pay back? Right? So a lot of people in the room go to brick and mortar banks. They are not really facilitated for SMEs. You got to look at third-party lenders that have a more appetite of risk. And what we try and do is we try and tell a story for the SMEs. We try and get that particular business to a forefront to say, okay, if we are saying no, what are the yeses that we can actually get over the line? So, yeah.
Okay, sure. The one common thing that you also mentioned that we find is a challenge, even outside of funding, is compliance. What are the key compliance checks that an SME needs to do before they apply for funding? What do I need to have in place?
Right. So your FICA regulation, right? So your basic company registration bank account needs to be verified in terms of business bank account, not your personal. You need to have all your regulatory documents, such as the things that are really impactful is your cash flow projections. You need to be able to show, hey, this is what I'm going to potentially be making. That's where you tell the story. And then with that, you got to have your annual financials. So a key component to any small business that's over about 6 months. If you're 6 months in the game, you got to ask your friends, family, uncle, hey, give me some money, take cash from the bank or, overdraft facility. But if you get to a point where you're actually seeing this business is growing, annual financial statement is the Bible to success of a business. If you don't have that as a preparation point, you can't tell a story because you don't get an opportunity like this where you stand and pitch your business. You have a characteristics, that's one, and people believe in you, but they want to see your business. And that showcases how much money, revenue I'm making, how much losses I'm making, where is the business going. So the first key point that I could share with anybody is get a junior accountant. Go to UCT, go get one of those graduate students and say, yo, I'll pay you in whatever form or way to start looking at my books if you don't have money. If you do have money, get to credible accountants like SME.tax. You got really good guys out there, you can hustle this thing and say, what could we do in exchange? There are a lot of accounting firms that will give you that has ESD money, that could help you hook up. Innovator Trust, incubation partner that can, if you get onto their facility, they pay for your accounting solutions. And that has helped me grow in a large form.
Okay, awesome. And at the end of the day, a lot of lenders are also in the business of making money. So nobody's going to throw money at you that you can't prove that you can actually pay this money back or know what to do with the funds that they're giving you. So Cheslin, you on the other end where you are able to screen all these applications from SMEs to lenders. Brian, as someone who was applying for funding, what are the key things that an SME should ask themselves before submitting that application? Just one or two things.
Okay, so very important. Before you ask for money, first ask yourself why you need it, how much you need, and is it really true that you need that much money? Oftentimes, entrepreneurs actually need a lot less than what they're actually applying for. And Oaks, let me tell you now, other people's money is expensive. So be very careful with how much you ask for. And like Cheslin said, your financial statements are your best friend. Your product might be rocket science, but how the money is going to flow in and out of your business should not be. It should be very straightforward. You should know how much is coming in, when and how, and when it's going out, how you're going to pay it back. So all of those things should be documented in detail because your finances are going to ask for them. They're going to get auditors to look through them. And if you can't explain every last cent of it, you're not going to get the money as free as it may be. So get your documents, your financial statements, understand them. If you can't understand them, get someone who does like Cheslin says and let them teach you, walk through every line item and understand exactly where every cent of the money you're applying for is going and how you're going to make it back. So a lot of people think grants are free. Grants are typically not free. They come with strings attached. And if you don't match those strings, they turn into a loan. So you find that you've got, hey, 500,000 Rand worth of grant, but you need to create 10 jobs. 10 jobs at minimum wage for a whole year, that's the 500,000 Rand gone. So you might think it's free, but you really need to funnel that money into your business in a way that it makes enough money to pay itself back, and you need to treat it as the loan it is, even though you might not need to pay interest and the actual capital amount back.
Yeah, know how you're going to pay this money back. Otherwise, they're definitely not giving you this money again. Palisa, do you have a tip that you can share with our SMEs this morning?
I think especially from, I mean, I've started from what I've had, that's how I've started my business, literally with what I have. So I know a lot of SMEs in this country, in this economy, having maybe previously started or currently about to start. Take it seriously, take your finances seriously from the beginning. If you need to pay yourself, put there, be realistic about it, pay yourself from the beginning. Get used to doing same practices that big corporations do them with your whatever 15,000 Rand turnover a month when you're starting, whatever the case may be. If you're paying yourself 2,000 Rand, pay yourself 2,000 Rand into your personal account. Don't stop swiping your business card everywhere. Just practice those at the beginning. Get into that habit, of doing the right thing, so that by the time that opportunity meets you, it's not luck, it's preparation.
100%.
So don't take yourself small. Take yourself seriously from the beginning. Call yourself a CEO before you even sell the silk pair of socks. And just start that practice and hone it and read, man, and read. I think the more you read, the more you hear about other people's stories. Like the CEO story was fascinating to me. I never thought. And so that's because he also took himself seriously from the jump, and that's just my tip, because these opportunities, sometimes we get very like complacent, and because we actually didn't do the right thing, we actually didn't take the right steps. And so we should also start looking at ourselves and our practices and stop saying, oh, government does not give us money. Let's just reframe our mindset and take ourselves and our businesses very seriously.
And we cannot treat access to funding or the opportunity to have funding as something that you are entitled to. It needs to be a relationship of value where you are creating value and adding value to the lender and vice versa to really make this thing work. Cheslin, can you give us one or two examples of mistakes that SMEs make once they've received the funding?
I think businesses want to obtain funding too early. They don't have a proper model. They have a great idea and a concept that they've thought through and think it works, but there's no data to prove it. I think that the preparation component of applying for an application to funders, it wastes their time. Remember, in government or in a corporate institution, the guys that are doing this are finance managers. When you come there without certain documents or without things, it's such a back and forth process, and your application can sit in limbo. There's two things: he gets upset and you get despondent. So that timing is everything. And then bank your money. Like, I think everybody in this room, if you, whatever business you have, if you're not putting into the bank, that's the track record that you need. If you don't have accountant, you at least have statements to prove that, hey, I have made money. This is how much money I've made. And just remember, whatever funding you apply for, you need to have shown at least some sort of payment with these institutions that have gone through, because one thing that funders, one of the securities that they need is the person that you're rendering service going to pay you, because the economy is bad. You know, if I do business with Sinotech, does Sinotech have money to pay? And by proving that is with actual PO invoice statements that have gone through in terms of a transaction. Once you get there, funders say, all right, let's go. I will invest in you to grow your business. And I would assume that it's very hard to deal with a government institution. You can understand it takes about 10 to 11 months because of the tedious process. You've got to have grit, grind, and real determination to get across the line. And once you do that, I would honestly say the best way to build a business is through government's money. It's cheaper, it's affordable. However, it's not easy, but if you get it right, you're really on your way to success, because they like a bank. You can refinance after 80% of the loan repaid. You can come back and say, hey, you gave me 500,000. Can I get 1 million? Can I get 2 million? And grow, because they have like a 5% interest rate over 3 years. And then once you start doing that, that builds up your track record to go to private lenders to say, I need quick cash to fill the cash flow position. But that gives you some sort of clout. You know, I'm with a government institution. I am there. And yeah, I just love to really guide people, because on our data sheets, we have about 680 funding applications, and we have only managed to fund 30 people based on the problem of compliance and that they just don't actually follow through.
Sure. So in a nutshell, paper trail. Paper trail before you apply for the funding, paper trail during the funding, paper trail post the funding is very important. What are the key things that an SME can look for when vetting a funding institution? Because granted, we need the money, but you want to ensure that you're getting it from a reputable institution. So what are the key things that we can look out for before we move over to the floor?
Cool. So build relationships. Go to offices. Go to meet people. When people say no to you, complain. Guys, complain. Go to the CEO, Nyana director. See, you complain, guys. The more you complain, the more noise you make. The more noise you make, the more they notice you. Guys, if somebody says decline, ask them, why did I decline? What was the reason for me not getting awarded this opportunity? I want to get the facts, figures, because I cannot fix the past, but I can prepare for the future.
And I guess one of the greatest things of lenders who actually communicate with you, it shows that you might actually get this money. And that's one thing that Palisa noted about Vodalend. They were communicating with her around the timelines, around where the process is. So that's one way to look at it. I do want to move over to the floor. Do we have any questions? Okay. There's a mic coming through now. That's a burning question, sir. You shut up.
The man was eager. Come, talk to me.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oscar. My surname is Mola. I got 2 babies that I'm running. Sufficient Grace Trading and the Little Trading Enterprise. You know, the question is that the normal times we attend these imbizos, these seminars, lots of mentorships. One day I was disagree with one of the panel guys there during the lunch, during the time of Minister Rob Davis was invited us for small business. I said the problem is that they speak about lots of funding is there available. Banks, they say they can get access to money to fund to them, but they will not tell you the whole truth. Like now, I was visiting the banks, many different banks, having the letter of credit that the client want to pay using it from Kenya, buying the stock in South Africa. My supply wanted the TT payment, 10% TT payment. And then that order is big. I don't have that 5 million that he needed me to put to cope because that the product can arrive to Kenya, Mombasa. And then when I approach my bank, Standard Bank, because they say they can give me money with a letter of credit. When I get there, the story, it was changed. It was not the way it was not giving out the whole truth. When I approach them, they say, letter of credit, you have to get the whole money when the stock is arriving in Mombasa. The problem that they aligned to me, I have to pay the supplier, I have to pay 5%, 10% to the supplier. You know, the problem is that the some other funders, they're not telling the whole truth that is needed, that they can, in funding, when they fund, what they need really. And some other will need surety. Like a Vodaland I applied one day was when certain deals. When they checked my projection, I was having the contract. When I checked my projection was not good, but the contract was there. They said, due to your projections, we cannot assist you due to your projection of your business. But here I was having the contract that showed that you can pay that money, that particular money.
Okay. So one of the biggest challenges I'm getting from that is transparency, the issue of transparency with lenders. Jason, do you want to take that one?
Yes, sure. So you must understand how a funder thinks. And I think a lot of SMEs don't understand how people with money think, right? Security is everything. No man that has money wants to lose money. It's impossible, right? So as much as the pipe dream is there, the opportunity is there, if you don't have securities in place to repay that money, it becomes merely impossible. Banks look for collateral, 1 rand on 1 rand. If you want 2 million rand, give me 1 million rand to have backing to secure the funds. You get unsecured lending that looks at those things, but paying deposits, it's very hard. It's I won't lie, it's a challenging environment that gentleman's in. But with purchasing of manufacturing stock, can that machine, if I'm a printer, if I buy this machine, how much paper can I monetize from this thing and how much rand to that value, ROI? So those are the things that a gentleman like that needs a consultant that has gone through that journey, because he's first time doing it. A consultant has done that kind of deal about 10 times. And he can point out what is actually wrong with his forecast, with his cash flow, with his statements that he's proposing, because maybe he didn't package the deal correctly.
So someone understands the method behind the madness. We've got another question, 1, 2, 3, 4. We can start there.
Good day, everyone. My name is Kereto. I'm a founder of a child safety company called Password Kid. What we do is that we prevent unauthorized child pickups and child kidnappings from primary schools and ECD centers. ECD centers, you mean your daycares, your aftercares, and so forth. So my question is mainly on the purchase orders to you, Cheslin, again. So what are the logistics of applying for a purchase order, right? So what are the documentations actually? Do you need to have a service agreement from the client so that the person who's paying for the order should see that you indeed have confirmed orders? Or do you just go to the person and say, hey, look, I have so-and-so clients that need so-and-so. Can you please give me the money? Kindly take me through that journey. Thank you.
Cool. I'm going to try and make it quick, but we should talk afterwards. So a purchase order works that you need to have the right documentation in place. So your PO needs to obviously show a certain amount, right? That is confirming your order will be completed. And you obviously need funds in order to service that, right? So in the instance of that journey, we need to have some sort of securities. Can we trust the guy that is going to be paying you? So have you done work with him before? Number one, that will give you a good tick. Number two, if you've never done work before, how do we know that you can deliver on that service? Can you prove in terms of previous transactions in services that you've done to other entities to validate another tick, right? And then obviously your regulatory documents. So your cash flow projections, your actual business cause, which I can talk to you about. If those three things are ticked, you have potentially a good deal on the line.
Just off the back of that question, Cheslin, does the value of the work you've done before this PO grant application matter? So if I've done value towards 100,000, but now I'm looking for 2 million, would that count in my application?
Yes, we do look at obviously historical performance of a business. So we want to see that because that shows you that you're operating trustworthy company. So if you're asking for 100,000 rand, can we see purchase orders to same or similar entities to that value? So we do take risk on tender entrepreneurs that come and get an order. We then have to really do due diligence in that deal, and that's where kind of the skill comes in.
Okay, so show capacity. We can take two more questions with time. We had the lady there.
Good morning. My name is Nokolo. Can I please ask, I want to understand how soon is soon? Because we start our businesses from nothing. And from what I hear, from what you are saying, it's like I need to have a track record of how I've run my business. And chances are I already have borrowed money from different places, a personal loan here and there. How soon is soon before I can go ask for funding? And also, how much am I allowed to owe anybody, either as a business or a personal loan, before I can go ask for funding? Thank you.
So you got twofold here, right? With the purchase order, you get access really fairly quickly because you have guaranteed income coming in. When you're looking for growth capital or development finance, we then look at different factors because we're so scared of what's happening in the world that you get R1 million and you're servicing this pre-existing debt. So you have to declare that debt to showcase that based on the debt that you have, how you're going to repay it. It's all in the preparation, guys. Like you got to think it through before you propose it to the funder, because they're going to ask you that questions. I don't know if you ever guys had a pitch battle competition when you're sitting in front of a panelist and they ask you, so tell me your numbers, what do you do? That is kind of the background of a funding application, but it's in detail now. They have more time to evaluate your business. But we can definitely talk afterwards about the different options available to you.
I also do want to give us some examples from Parsley on Time and Aaron Power. How early in your business did you guys apply for funding and were successful at that?
This is my 10th year of business. Yeah, so this is the first time I apply for
10 years
funding.
later.
10 years later.
Okay.
Not that I haven't tried before. It was just all the red tape and the government processes.
Got you.
We're in our 3rd year of business. We started our funding application in our 6th month, but it is important to note that we had only officially been in business for about 2 months prior to that. The 4 months before that were just like informal trading. So just keeping a paper trail of even the informal trading, trading as Arion Power, leading into Arion Power, the subsidiary registered company, all of those bank statements, the planning of when we wanted to get funding and what for, helped us. And for us, because we're 6 months old when we actually applied for the funding, our process was a very month-to-month touch base with our investment officer, where we were like, okay, cool. Last month we broke this revenue. This month we're breaking this. Next month we're planning this. We go back, we review. And as the process was going on step by step, we needed to go and update our projections based on what we had done before. So you can get funding from inception. You can get funding later on. It's all in just how you plan it and how you are planning to execute the money and how you are planning to run through your business.
And I guess also who you're approaching. We can take one more question
I
from
just
the
want to
middle.
give one last tip. So 0 to 6 months, NYDA, National Youth Development Agency, 0 to 6 months. From 1 year to about year 2, you can go to obviously government DFIs like CFA. You can go to micro lenders; they will accommodate you. And then from obviously like 3 years to 5 years, you become a top tier client for the bank. You become a top tier client for asset finance and those kind of things because you have the projections in order. So.
Al-Jarain Bari from a company, Alro Electrical Distributors. So we do all of your electrical cables, instrumentation cables, we do joints and those type of things. My question is related to PO funding. So we started our company and 2 months down the line, the city had an issue with load shedding and they needed joints urgently. Nobody would open up on a Saturday to supply. We were the only company, so we went in, packed the kits, took the joints, and they could get the power up. And the Monday they met with us and they wanted to see us for an emergency order. We ended up getting the order with the factory saying that they would back us. When they saw the amount, they got scared. They said, government, this figure, sorry, we can't back you on it. We had to go to a funding partner who in turn took 50% of the profit, and also still your commitment to the supplier, and then later finding out that the same supplier is also an investor with the funding company. So with that order, you walk away with nothing. So the first thing is how your PO funding works. And then the second thing, is there a reduced rate if you pay sooner? Because some of the deals that we do, you get payment upon inspection. So the customer would pay you COD, but they need to come out, they need to view the stock, see that everything is there, get the technical information. Once they have all of that, they'll then pay you. But the stock that we have to get manufactured is specialized stock, and no factory will make it for you if you don't give them a deposit. So you need the funding just to get the stock manufactured, even if it's just half of it, and then when it's manufactured and ready, you pay it back. So it won't be then a 6-month or a 12-month term. You can actually pay it off in 14 or the worst 30 days. So how does your PO funding work?
So I'm going to just sum it up quickly for you, and we can have a conversation afterwards. But our cheapest fund, 30 days, 5%, 60 days, 10%, 90 days, 15% interest rates, right? There's no stealing of information and stuff like that. We're all regulated, and we try and we enablers for SMEs, because the more I help you, the more you can employ people, and that makes my heart great, right? And then further on, just in terms of just summing it up, with regards to your supplies of goods, we make sure that if you have a supplier, we also try and find an alternative supplier for you to reduce the cost. Because remember, we're in the game. You doing this once, you found one supplier, you now stop looking. We kind of have a range of people from a supplier perspective, so we will guide you in terms of finding that for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Chislin. We are at the end of our discussion. They are still here for the duration of the day. For all our other questions we couldn't take at this point, but I think that this discussion has shown that there are a lot of nitty-gritties that we need to understand when gunning for funding. Guys, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you to all of you and your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.